Welcome everyone, Tactical Lich here. We have a new season of the Ladies Quest tournament hosted by the ODM clan going on right now, and so we have some really exciting replays to show you all. Now, for this battle we are seeing some double Ghorgon plus Jabber's Life gameplay by none other than Strat Games. These mountains of flesh have enough mass to push through any enemy front lines. Now, aside from the scary single entities, we have a couple Tuskor chariots accompanying the Great Bray Shaman of Wild, coming in with only Traitorkin, and a front line of Ungor spears supported by a bunch of Ungor raiders. In the skies, a couple harpies for some anti-air power, as they'll be contesting their airspace against the gyrocopters here. For the Dawi army controlled by Urian, we have 4 gyrocopters, all of them with brimstone guns, I think, yes indeed. And then we have the classic Dawi box, a bunch of miners with blasting charges. In the center, a bunch of rangers to provide some ranged firepower, and at the back, a sturdy line of iron breakers with their explosives. Leading the army, we have Grim Iron Fist, a monster killer, but can he slay the 3 mighty beasts of the Beastman army? We shall see. At the start of the battle, the Dawi Air Force tries to get close to the Beastman army and do some poke damage at the single entities, but with the Ungor Raiders and the Harpies in place, they are driven back. Now, the Dwarf army actually deployed rather far back in the deployment zone here, but there's still enough space between the edge of formation and the white line, giving plenty of room for the Beastmen to flank around, so this is not white line camping. Anyways, at the front line, with the brimstone guns being driven back, the Beastman seems to be quite confident to go for a massive rush. All the chariots YOLOing themselves into the fray, but the Great Bray Shaman got an explosive welcome. The Great Bray Shaman quickly backs off, but the rest of the Tuskor chariots push through with their mass, getting onto the rangers while the Gorgons jumping in as well, terrifying the miners. The rangers have been focusing their fire on the Bray Shaman, and with the help of some brimstone guns, the Great Bray Shaman is now at half health. The Ungor hordes also took a lethal dose of explosive in the face, all thanks to the iron breakers and miners pushing up, and will be quickly pushed off. The front line is going well for the Dawi, but the problem is in the back line, where the Tuskor chariots and Gorgons are just rampaging. There's simply nothing to stop these monsters and chariots from pushing through. There's no rune of slowness, no flash bombs, and the dwarf infantry mass alone is far from enough to pin down large targets. The chariots and monsters are free to do what they want, curb stomping Dawi along their way. One unit of rangers is terrified away, and another unit will be fallen victim to this blobby, monstrous, and chariot force. Even the Jabber's Life are in the back line now, so the rangers are all shut down, despite the frontline engagement going rather in favor of the Dawi army. Now, on the far side, the Great Bray Shaman actually got routed for a while there due to all the brimstone gun firing at him, but with the Harpies catching up now, the brimstone guns are taking quite noticeable damage from the melee engagement. Thankfully, they do have heavy armor so that they won't be immediately slaughtered, though the gyrocopters deciding to focus fire on the Great Bray Shaman is blobbing up quite a bit. This gives the Great Bray Shaman a perfect opportunity for a Traitorkin cast, overcast version even. Now, the Great Bray Shaman did take miscast damage, but he's gonna get killed by the gyros anyway, so might as well squeeze out more damage before his inevitable demise. The overcast Traitorkin successfully eliminated 2 of the gyrocopters, and the remaining 2 gyros will be harassed by the Harpies. With the gyros dealt with, let's move back to the dwarf backline, which is in shambles right now, with the Ghorgon chasing some of the rangers towards the white line, and being so close to the white line means that it is easier for your opponent to push them off the map. Despite one of the rangers coming back right before the white line, the Ghorgon decided to hunt them down, making sure they would never return and never fire a single shot again. Very nice from Strat Games there, making sure the opponent's units are completely removed from the game. Now, for the Tuskor chariots and Jabber's Life, they have been psycho-charging the entire time, and yeah, as I said before, there's nothing to stop these mobility and monsters, especially with the disruptive charging animation of the Jabber's Life, easily pushing out of all these surround of Dawi infantry. Once the Jabber's Life starts charging, it receives a massive acceleration, essentially flying straight through anything between it and its target. And Grim with only 32 speed has no business of catching up with the Beastman monster. There are still some iron breakers throwing in explosives on the Ghorgon, but that probably did more friendly fire on the miners, and at this point, the rangers are completely eliminated, with the last one being hunted down by the Tuskor chariots, and the remaining forces of the dwarves with only iron breakers and miners left without any missiles, no anti-large other than Ungrim. While they can slowly wear down the monsters, they don't have anything to stop them or do any effective damage, other than perhaps the brimstone guns, which are pressured by the Harpies and are nowhere to be seen right now. Now the Gorgons are not invincible, and they did take some damage in previous melee engagements and from missile fire. The problem is that they have this healing ability called Strength from Flesh. As long as they're in melee, they will be receiving 0.2% of passive heal per second. So that means if you want to rout a Gorgon, you need to out-damage the healing. This will require significant burst damage, which the dwarves do not exactly have that right now. The Brimstone guns did have the potential to get the job done, but there's only one unit left around the battlefield. The others are all hunted down by the Harpies. That one on the far side came back, but being so close to other Harpy units, it would just get caught in melee once again and driven off. That means this one poor Brimstone gun unit will have to do a lot of carrying despite their ammo is running dry. They're now shooting at the Jabberslave, which has low health and low leadership right now, which is not a bad target since the Jabberslave does not have any healing and the Mortis Engine effect does help to clear out the dwarf blobs. On the far side, some remaining Tusgore chariots are still psycho-charging, doing some nice armor-piercing impact damage against the armored infantry of the dwarves. And the Ironbreakers are getting bullied by the Beastmen monsters. They do not have immune to psychology. So that means once their leadership gets low enough, they can be terrified by the monstrous presence. Also, one thing interesting about the Jabberslave is that it applies poison not only through its melee contact effect, but also through a vortex. It also does armor-piercing damage, but not quite effective against Ironbreakers, but debuff is a debuff after all. Combined with its leadership-based Mortis Engine effect and its disruptive charging animation, it actually did quite a number on the Dawi army. Now the Jabberslave will be joining force with other Beastmen units piling on top of this Dwarf Infantry blob, which is Ironbreakers and a bunch of miners. Unfortunately for the Jabberslave, he got hit by Ungrim Iron Fist, so he will be routed. In the skies, one of the gyrocopters is almost out of ammo. The other one actually came back from routing despite being harassed constantly by the Harpies. Unfortunately, I'm afraid that's not enough firepower to turn this game around, as a Harpy unit actually returned to hunt down the less healthy but more ammo gyro unit. The out of ammo gyro decided to chase the Jabberslave, but that put them in the reach of Ghorgon and they're quickly destroyed. Ungrim did put a hit on the Ghorgon, did some damage to him, but the Ghorgon with their long legs can simply walk out of the engagement, while Ungrim with his short legs cannot catch up at all. This allows the Jabberslave to come back for one last charge before routing, and the rest of the Dwarf infantry tattered as they are simply cannot stand in front of the might of psycho-charging single entities with terror. Sure, Nargrimling Ironbreakers, being one of the most elite defensive infantry in the entire game, can hold for significantly longer, but they are no slayers, they can't do anti-large damage, so they're just taking damage and not doing much in return. On the far side, some Ironbreakers have came back from chasing down Ungor infantry and will be subjected to the psycho-charging of double Gorgons once more. Ungor spears are here to tie them down, fixing them in place so that the Gorgons can psycho-charge, even moving out to pick off some remaining miners, which the Ungor spears will quickly chase them down. With the Ungor spears pursuing routed units, that means the attacking rule is fulfilled and the Gorgons are free to psycho-charge all these elite Ironbreakers. Eventually, with enough dwarf units routed, the Ironbreakers will be broken by army losses. Ungrim can fight to his death, but 2 psycho-charging Gorgons with plenty of healing left is way too much for even the Slayer King himself. First of all, GG to both players. Strat Games and Urien both put up a great game, but unfortunately for Urien, Strat Games' build counters his build perfectly with the double Ghorgon and Jabberslave. Having enough mass to walk straight through the dwarf infantry line and get onto the back line there, without Rune of Slowness or flash bombs to slow down the Beastmen advance, and no slayers to do the anti-large damage. The dwarves have no answer to the single entity monsters and the chariots here. As you can see here, both the Gorgons and the Jabberslave did pretty well here, especially the Gorgons still have plenty of hit points left and a lot of healing, as we did not see their healing cap at all. And then the Tusgore chariots did pretty decent, basically silenced the missile backline, and the gyrocopters were shut down by the Harpies there, one of them getting 1,200 gold worth of damage value, the other one also paid for itself. The Ungor Raiders and Ungor infantry line didn't do much damage, mostly got blown up by the explosives, and their lack of armor piercing were not great against miners and Ironbreakers. The Great Brave Shaman of Wild also got shut down early in the game, but all it takes were the 2 Gorgons to win the game, really. As for Urien there, the explosive front line didn't really earn back their damage value mostly. Only Norgrimling Ironbreakers did well, the others not so much, as one of the Ironbreakers, the one that still have quite a bit of health left, got routed in the end by army losses. And in the skies, the Gyros also struggled to pay for themselves due to the forever harassment of the Harpies. Rangers got shut down completely by the chariots and monsters, so not much damage was dealt either, and Ungrim, trying desperately to chase after the monsters the whole game, just couldn't quite carry it despite having unbreakable, armor-piercing, and anti-large. Now, Strike Games has been using this double Ghorgon plus Jabber's Life build to break boxes for quite a while, having great effectiveness against Cathay and perhaps Skavens as well. The double Ghorgon with their healing is exceptionally lethal combined with their large health pool. This gives them the survivability they need to tank damage and cycle charge in a box, and not much can be done to stop them because they can simply walk over to their ranged firepower and shut them down, considering they also have the help of Chariots and Jabber's Life. Strike Games here really showcasing the power and oppressiveness of the double Ghorgon. Perhaps we'll be seeing some nerfs to the unit in the future, maybe in the form of overall healing nerfs. But before that, I think we'll be seeing more double Ghorgon build in the meta. Anyways, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this battle, and if you want to see more Total War Warhammer multiplayer content, be sure to subscribe to my channel and get notified for new videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.